Hey everyone, we're talking about bookkeeping today. Today I've got Daria Kalinova with me, and we're talking about the importance of keeping good records, maintaining your books, and why that really impacts you as a business owner. My name's Anthony Brister, and this is the Wealth Planning Podcast with Brister Law. Let me introduce you, Daria. Daria, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Anthony, thank you for inviting me to start with. So I'm doing virtual bookkeeping services, and I'm based here in Miami. And I just started full time working for myself this year, but I've been doing it for a couple of years in general, starting with helping with accounting back in my home country in Russia, and then I've been also doing this part in Europe, and then helping some friends that I know and some business owners, and so I can finally enjoying myself doing it.
Yeah, well, congratulations on taking that step out and working for yourself. I know that's a big learning process and a big risk too. So, congratulations on that.
Thank
How long
you.
have you been doing bookkeeping, I guess, total?
I think it will be like 5 years in
Okay,
total with little breaks.
awesome, awesome. So, let's just hop right into it then and tell me, if I'm a business owner, why do I need to hire someone for bookkeeping, or what's the importance of having bookkeeping, and what are we
So,
trying to do?
uh-huh. What I can say is bookkeeping is definitely something that you cannot avoid if you have your own business. You don't necessarily need to hire somebody or outsource it or have somebody in-house. So a lot of business owners do it themselves, but um, you know, I would say to do it yourself, you need to have two things. Of course, you need to have the knowledge, proper knowledge and understanding of how the bookkeeping works in general. And if you have at least a proper understanding, our world right now has so much resources, and you can basically find an answer to any of your questions in regarding bookkeeping. And a lot of professionals online are also, I think, who I've talked to, are very eager to help, a business owner who is just starting out. And the second thing, you have enough time to do that. And if you have both skill and the time, you can do bookkeeping yourself 100%. And if you can do it yourself, I would definitely recommend to get a professional to help you with that.
Yeah, it's like me changing my oil. Just because I can doesn't mean that I should, and also it's probably not the best use of my time too. So,
Yeah, 100%.
we can figure a lot of things out, but maybe that's we're better off selling, whatever it is we're selling than trying to figure out QuickBooks or Excel
No,
formula.
definitely. And for the majority of business owners, the time is so, so valuable, and you can spend it in so much different ways than spending, like 20 hours a month or 10 hours a month doing your own bookkeeping, at least to, work on your business, or spend time for yourself, spend time with your family, which is also very important for mental state of mind.
Yeah, I agree. You know, most people try to do their books in the late afternoons or on the weekends, and that does take away from the family time. But this is a wealth planning podcast and financial. We talk about tax stuff too. So, how does having your books in order affect your taxes?
So you need to do your bookkeeping as a bare minimum to have your profit and loss statement at the end of the year for your accountant or your tax preparer.
And
And this is,
before we go into that, what will you just explain to a very basic level? What is a profit
of
and loss
course.
statement for
So
everybody?
the profit and loss statement is, it's like a conclusion of how your business is performing. It does show all your income, all your expenses, as well as the categories of your income, expenses, assets, liabilities, equity, and everything. Um, so yeah, the I would say the profit and loss statement is just the basic financial report that a business owner needs to have to at least, again, have bookkeeping to be able to file their tax return or taxes.
Yeah, I mean, first off, you're required to report all of your income, so you need to be keeping track of that, anyways. And again, with it disorganized, it's hard to keep track of all of that. But then, second off, too, you want to keep track of your expenses because personally, I want to write off my expenses and deduct
Oh
them.
yeah, 100%.
I don't want to be paying taxes if I shouldn't have to. So I find a lot of people miss expenses if they're
Mm-hmm.
not doing their bookkeeping regularly. So with that, I guess, what are some tools maybe for people just starting off if they want to do bookkeeping? And then, maybe for those who have more established business, what should they look into as far as tools and resources for bookkeeping?
What do you mean for tools and resources for bookkeeping?
So I guess, if I just started a business and I'm selling stuff on Pinterest, how should I keep track of my expenses and my income?
So, the very beginning thing that I would tell you in this case is, of course, open your business bank account and run all your transactions through your business bank account. And this is something that, of course, this is the most obvious bookkeeping mistake that you can think of, and it's the most common mistake still that I work with, for example, because you can avoid it so easily by just setting up your business bank account from the start and only using it for your business transactions, because it is going to save you so much time if you have everything set up from the beginning, rather than working on all your transactions, getting all the receipts at the end of the year. And it's not only about a time of a bookkeeper or a time of an accountant, but it's about business owner time. And again, as we talked before, it's so valuable, and it's just something that you can be so easily keeping yourself away from. And I just now started working with one tattoo artist here in Miami,
Yeah.
and my apologies. And he has been using his personal bank account, a checking bank account, two credit cards, cash expenses as well for his business transactions. So he is a wonderful person to work with, but you can really see that he's putting a lot of time and a lot of effort going through all the transactions for the whole year, separating from business and personal, and getting the receipts, trying to get some receipts, looking for them. So it's a big headache that you can definitely avoid if you just starting your business.
Yeah, definitely. And also that helps from an asset protection standpoint too,
Mm-hmm.
depending on, what kind of entity or business structure you're in. You need to have a separate bank account to not
Yeah.
only not commingle personal and business, but uh, to maintain that separateness for corporate formalities and protect from having the corporate veil pierced. Um, so definitely have a separate bank account. I think that is a great first start. And then from there, maybe what do you think about using Excel to track, basic income and expenses?
Well, if it's very basic income and expenses, I don't mind using Excel as long as you are understanding what you're doing in general. Of course, I would recommend going with an accounting software if it's more than like 20 transactions, I would say, or a
Really?
little bit more, like 30 transactions a month. Um, I personally use QuickBooks Online to do that, and QuickBooks in general does have a lot of plans and platforms to work with together. But I would recommend to set up an accounting software for yourself.
Yeah. I think it depends on how well versed you are with Excel. Some of my companies, I have Excel, but I know it's very low transactions and low
Mm-hmm.
balance sheet items. But for my active businesses, I definitely use QuickBooks, and I actually recommend QuickBooks too. And if any of my viewers or listeners want a discount for QuickBooks, we'll drop a referral link down in the bottom in the description, and you can join. I think you get up to three months at a discounted price, but QuickBooks really makes it easy. And Daria, why do you like QuickBooks over Excel?
Um, I think it's even the question, why do I like QuickBooks versus the other accounting
Yeah.
softwares available out there. Um, I think the biggest advantage for me is going to be the integration with the third-party apps. So you can connect your payment processors, almost every payment processor with QuickBooks. You can connect e-commerce platform, like time tracking apps with QuickBooks, and it
Hmm.
does save you a lot of time because in the majority of cases they're synced automatically. So every sale, every tax, and every fee, it is synced, and it is automatically recorded in QuickBooks as well. And I think there have been just a couple of apps that have been missing working with in QuickBooks for this whole time, but for the majority of cases, works great.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop?
I use QuickBooks Online,
Yeah.
and I prefer that. What about
Yeah.
you?
It's a little bit more intuitive. What about, is QuickBooks something that you can learn on YouTube, or how do you recommend someone getting started? Maybe they hire a bookkeeper to set up some accounts and then take it
I
over.
think it's a good question. I definitely think if you're very new to bookkeeping and accounting, it would be worth to hire a professional to set up your QuickBooks for you, specifically to set up a proper chart of accounts, which is very important. And I think if you have a chart of accounts customized to your business, you're so much less likely to make a mistake in the process of categorizing your transactions because you have everything set up, all the sales, or even income channels, or the expenses are differentiated because QuickBooks is great and it's very user friendly, but of course, it doesn't know the nuances of your business, and it
Yeah.
does provide you with like a default chart of accounts or default setup, but you really need to customize it based on what your business needs.
Yeah. And what is, I guess, for our viewers too, what is a chart of accounts?
So chart of accounts is going to be like the categories of all your transactions that can occur in your business. It could be income, expenses, and everything. So
Like, let's
yeah,
say
as
for
a
a restaurant owner, or maybe that's too hard. Like say a lawyer.
like
Me, what kind of chart of accounts would someone like a lawyer have typically? Maybe.
we can go even to the restaurant side. It's a little bit more complicated to do, and I think I've been working with a couple of food and beverage establishments. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for a restaurant is much more complicated than a business owner might think it
Yeah.
can be because there is a lot going on. Not even talking about sales, but like sales on cash, sales on credit, your sales tax, your tips payable, um, um, the fees to transfer your funds from the POS system to um, your bank account. But I'm not sure if QuickBooks is the best accounting software for restaurants though.
Yeah. So, I guess really what the chart of accounts does is get you kind of those general expenses or those transactions that happen a lot, and
Yeah.
then you set that up. That way you can automate some of the bookkeeping.
Yeah, I would say it's like a um, guiding map in the process of completing your bookkeeping because
Uh-huh.
you know what kind of categories your transactions can fall into. So you're not guessing from a default chart of accounts whether, your expenses, um, office expense, or like supply and material expense because you have it set it up for yourself from the beginning.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then, if I'm using QuickBooks, what kind of reports should I be looking at as a business owner? I know we already said the profit and loss, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
should I be looking at that yearly? And then, is there any other types of reports generally that a business owner should be looking at?
Of course, yeah. So um, the basic reports that you definitely need to look at are cash flow statements and balance sheet and profit and loss statement, definitely. And you need to review them um, at least monthly. And if you're just starting out, maybe a little bit more often, maybe bi-weekly,
Hmm.
maybe weekly, if you don't really know how your sales are doing. Um, but QuickBooks is also great in terms of, I think it makes of course, makes bookkeeping way faster and way easier for someone, but it also provides more insights, I find, that other accounting softwares, because
Yeah.
it's very easy to generate the reports. You can customize the reports depending on what you specifically want to look at, whether it's different types of expenses, or if you want to see like accounts receivable aging report. Very easy to customize and set it up for yourself.
Yeah, I look at my profit and loss weekly, and I really just kind of look at
Mm-hmm.
gross revenue. But then also, what am I looking at too? Just routinely, I like looking at kind of the expenses and seeing kind of where we're at as well. So I like running those reports and the accounts receivable too. Uh, we get busy in the operation. Sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
forget, did these people pay us, right? And you want to keep the cash going in. So those aging invoices or open accounts receivable reports as well, very, very handy.
Definitely.
So you can remember who's paying you.
Are there any other like important metrics or factors you would recommend a business owner to pay attention to?
Yeah, well, I think always looking at gross income and then net income, right? Especially with my business owners, being aware of what kind of purchases we're going to have, and how net income actually affects our ability to go out and buy something, especially
Mm-hmm.
real estate. As a tax attorney and tax strategist, most of the time we want to pay as little taxes as possible. So we're being aggressive on the write offs and deductions, which might show our net income being lower. But if we want to go out and buy a home, that might not be as beneficial too. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it kind of depends on your goals, and then two, what kind of industry you're in. Um, that's why it's really important to be having conversations with your bookkeeper, with your tax strategist on a regular basis, so we can be aware of all these things. Because I don't think it's general. You can't just give general advice because everyone's facts are different on that end.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's just talk, I guess, about some mistakes that you've seen. We talked a little bit about mixing personal and business finances. Do you have another story about that? I know I do.
There are, for me, there are a lot of stories, but there is nothing like so much major happening. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. Um, for me, I think one of the things, I just had a client come in who wasn't really doing any bookkeeping. They just had stuff in their personal account, but they weren't taking even the basic expenses like home office, cell phone, internet, things like that. They just were used to having it in their personal. So just having the discussion, we're able to find this. But if we were to have a clean set of books, just looking at those expenses, it would have been very obvious too that they were missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when you're not maintaining your books regularly, I think a lot of people just start swiping their card. It's very easy to swipe your card and swipe the wrong card. So we miss out potentially if we're not
Yeah,
paying attention.
that's a good point. And I think it's also very important for a business owner. Um, like, for example, if you're starting out, have a conversation with your accountant, with your bookkeeper, for example, for like business meals, business travel. What can you put on your personal card? What can you put on your business card?
Yeah.
So there is no like um, confusion later on. For example, I will be texting one of my clients like, "Hey, I saw that you have a transaction from this Mexican restaurant next to your office. Was it for your personal use? Was it used for the business? And just really set, you can say, like the boundaries for your business expenses."
Yeah. And, it does go back to for being reasonable. I think a lot of small business owners don't know what they can deduct or not. So,
Yeah,
they're confused. And most of the time, I feel like people will either be one of two things. They'll be super aggressive and write everything off, or they'll be super conservative.
mm-hmm.
not do anything. So there's kind of a balance, and talking to someone like yourself or me, I think, can kind of get that guidance too, so where they can feel comfortable in doing what they're doing.
Yeah, very important to ask the questions if you have any questions. They're never bad questions to ask as long as you are confident in what you're doing.
Um, so what else do we got? How often should people be reaching out, and you know, what other things besides just doing books do you help people with?
Um, Mostly I do just help with books. We can go into, of course, managing accounts payable, accounts receivable. The whole bookkeeping process does include track your transactions, categorize your transactions, reconcile your accounts. Could be as well, as I said before, manage accounts payable, manage accounts receivable, prepare financial reports. Some bookkeepers also help with uh, payroll or budgeting, which I currently don't do at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, for payroll, I feel like it's kind of a headache. I always recommend using QuickBooks. Actually, has a payroll service,
Yeah,
or Gusto, I think is another.
Augusto. I think I would prefer Augusto if you don't mind,
Yeah, yeah,
switching your data from Augusto to QuickBooks.
yeah. They're pretty white glove and can help. And I think it's kind of painless using Gusto, so you don't have to
Yeah,
worry.
a little bit.
The
I think
payroll.
Augusto provides a little bit more value in terms of payroll rather than QuickBooks.
Yeah. Well, Daria, it was great having you on. How can people reach you, and what's the best way to reach you? And obviously, we'll put your contact information on the description here. But
Yeah,
how
of
should people
course.
reach out to you?
Can you repeat that, please?
How should people reach out to you, and if they want to work with?
Um, in any possible way, you can text, you can send a message to my email, you can send a message to my Instagram, just describing a little bit what your bookkeeping issue is, what your bookkeeping situation is, your business, at least an industry, and then we can set up a consultation call just to go over what your needs are, how I can help, and then figure out from there.
Yeah, awesome. And what was your Instagram account? Was it Lumen Bookkeeping? Is that what it
It's
is?
Lumen Bookkeeping, yes. And
Awesome.
my email is daria@lumenbk.com.
Cool, and we'll share that in the link there. So everyone, y'all go. First off, make sure that your books are in order, and get it done before the end of the year. If y'all need any help, reach out to Daria. She'll help get you cleaned up and on the right track. Don't forget to like, subscribe, go follow Daria for any bookkeeping tips and advice on social media. She does a good job out there. Reach out to
Thank
her.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks everyone again for listening to the Wealth Planning Podcast with Brister Law.